A really warm welcome to everyone tonight for joining us for helping teenagers take responsibility for their actions. My name is Mel White and I'm a trainer at Youth Opportunities. I also coordinate our Community 360, which is our wraparound support for parents and educators and any school staff working with young people. My background is as a high school teacher for many years in the classroom, along with leadership roles in professional development for graduate teachers, mentors, and also leaders. Another hat that I wear is as a parent of teenagers and young adults. So I really enjoy working with young people. It's why I do the work that I do. Looking forward to working with you tonight as fellow adults in the world of young people. Joining me to present our session is my lovely colleague, Emma Peterson.
Hi everyone and welcome. I am a program trainer with Youth Opportunities. I also hold a Master's in Counselling and Psychotherapy, and I'm really passionate about working alongside young people to support them to achieve their goals and be their best. I also am a parent of 2 teenagers, so I'm very familiar with the complexities that might arise when navigating the teenage years, and I'm really excited to be with you here all tonight. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the different lands we are all meeting on here across the state, and also pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. And I'd like to extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples joining us tonight.
Great, thank you so much, Emma. Now there's going to be opportunities for interaction tonight a number of times. We're going to be using Slido, and you can see there's a QR code on the screen. So feel free to jump in there now. We'll be asking you to answer a question shortly. If you don't have a smartphone and you can't use the QR code, you can actually just go to slido.com. You can see there's an event code on that slide as well. When we ask you to use the chat, we're going to ask you to use it in Zoom and not in Slido. So it will be pretty straightforward. And we can see many of you have got the thumbs up happening. So we know that we will see that along the way as we prompt you. Okay, and if you've got any questions along the way, feel free to ask in the chat. Thank you. There's a beautiful thumbs up right there. All right, let's start with a quick snapshot of our organisation. At Youth Opportunities, we equip young people with the skills and attitudes to thrive in education, work and life in general. And we've been doing it for over 26 years, supporting nearly 16,000 young Australians through our personal leadership programs and services. We help them take control of their lives and positively impact their communities as a result. The Marshman Foundation, named after founder Peter Marshman, is our independent research and development partner. What we share with you tonight has been informed by our evidence-based program, ongoing research, our own experiences, and especially by the work our organisation does to support young people. So speaking of young people, we've got a question here straight away for you to answer in Slido. If you can please use that QR code or another tab on your computer and slido.com with that event code. So name the strengths of the teenagers you support. I want to get a really good sense of the types of things that you observe in those young people you're working with. What are those common strengths that really inspire you and really you'll be thinking about them as we work through our guidance on them taking responsibility for their actions. So thank you. I can see people are already in there. Let's see what other strengths come up. Fantastic. A whole range here, which is great. And all of these can contribute to them being really successful now and into their future as well. Awesome. Look at all these great qualities, Emma.
Amazing. Beautiful.
They all bring their unique selves to the work that you do with them, no doubt. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. If you haven't been able to get onto Slido, you are very welcome to use the chat as well. All right. Thank you, everyone. A really nice positive start. So keep that in mind as we coast along into the content for tonight. Our session is a follow-up to a webinar we ran recently on the impact of the teenage brain on behaviour. So tonight we're going to be focusing on how to guide teenagers to take responsibility for their actions. So the big ones and the small ones, and the actions now and into the future as well. We're going to particularly focus on the theory of locus of control, which is connected to this theme of taking responsibility. While our teenagers' brains are in development, we can guide them toward an internal locus of control, which sees them being their own hero with a hero can-do mindset, as opposed to a victim mindset. So we'll explore that in the session tonight. Once we cover the theory and benefits, we'll provide practical strategies to be able to guide the young people you support to really take the lead on their own success and happiness and grow their abilities as great personal leaders. We're going to aim to build on your existing knowledge, of course, always, and also those valuable experiences that you have had working with young people. Firstly, a really quick reminder, and this was shared in our previous webinar, of the developing teenage brain and the impact on behaviour. The brain of a teenager is very much under construction or a work in progress. Their executive functions are especially still in development, and often their emotion-led limbic system is impacting their actions and reactions. We'll keep this in mind as we discuss how to support them to take responsibility for their actions. We'll share details of the previous webinar later for those who missed out. All right, so let's get into the theory. The concept of locus of control was first introduced by psychologist Julian Rotter back in the 50s, but for our purpose today, we can understand it in these terms. A person with an internal locus of control believes they can make things happen, and you can see the features on the slide here on the left. They believe they can lead their own success and shape their future with that hero mindset, that they have the power to choose who to surround themselves with to maintain a positive self-image. It also leads to being more solution-focused, persistent and effortful. For our young people, this is shown to predict better grades, success and happiness. So on the other end of what really is a bit of a continuum, in contrast, a person with an external locus of control, so there's features on the right-hand side of the slide, these people convey a victim mentality. So that happens, that the things that happen to them, that life is about luck and not effort, they don't have agency to control their future, or they can't influence how others treat them. People with an external locus of control attribute consequences to the situation or to the actions of others. So it's important to recognise that we do not have control over many things in our lives, and this is especially true for young people. They have to follow rules, they have to go to school, they don't have the same level of independence as us, as adults. And our role really is to help them navigate this, to know where do they have control and where they don't, to guide them to manage their responses to things that are not directly in their control. So keep that in mind as we go along. All right, so let's really hone in on external locus of control. Who here, and I want you to respond in the chat, has observed in other people, or maybe even themselves, the tendency to point the finger at others when something goes wrong? So feel free to get your thumbs up if you can relate. With this in mind, let's look at some real life scenarios that might paint the picture. Have you heard others or yourself say things like, "No one ever helps around the house. The yard is always such a mess. The kids are forever leaving their dishes everywhere. My to-do list at work is never achievable. I always get overlooked for promotions. And I don't have time for exercise or a hobby or even self-care." I can see the thumbs coming thick and fast there, Emma. I know I
people can relate.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all a bit on the same page here. So can you picture anyone you've met who's said these things? And some of you are thumbs up because you can relate to it yourself. These are the types of thoughts that someone with an external locus of control will focus on and act on in particular scenarios, and especially when experiencing stress. So they're not necessarily always in that space if you're relating to it about yourself, but at times we all do tend toward that external locus of control. So you might have noticed by now that by pointing the finger at others, we avoid taking ownership for the things that happen in our lives, especially the things that do frustrate us. Let's look at a school-based student example that I know you might be able to relate to. So we're honing in on external locus of control, as you can see here. Let's imagine a high school student, Sarah, has a track record of failing her tests, missing deadlines on assignments. And when she does meet the deadline, her assignments fail to meet all of the criteria. They don't really reflect her best effort, and her teachers know that. When Sarah's teachers ask her what's happening, she says things like, "You, the teacher, didn't give us enough time. I can't help it if I've got everything due on the same day. Or you didn't explain it. It wasn't clear. I wasn't here on that lesson. Mum needed my help on that day." So I'm wondering if you can relate to a student like Sarah. In each of these scenarios, Sarah is attributing the outcome to factors outside of her control instead of reflecting on how she might improve her work habits, communication, problem solving. She's focused on external circumstances and other people's actions as the reasons for her performance. So just tell us in the chat. I can see some thumbs ups coming through there. Again, some quick connecting happening. But tell us if you can relate to it. Have you seen this in your students? And maybe in the chat, where have the students attributed the blame? So I gave a few examples there. Mainly toward the teacher. Even mum copped it there for a moment. But where do the students you work with attribute blame in these types of scenarios? Yeah, so someone's sharing that they have experienced it with younger staff, which is totally understandable if we think about how long that brain does take to develop. Yes, your own children, someone has said there. Okay, great. And behaviour in school. Yeah, so a whole range of responses there. Thank you so much. And poor grades.
Poor grades, yeah.
Yeah, which can be a result. So let me flip it a bit here and have a closer look. Click at an example of internal locus of control. So let's imagine another student, Morgan. He tends more towards an internal locus of control. Tell me what you think we would see from his actions in the lead up to doing completing a test at school. So he's got a test coming up. And if you're looking at the features of someone with an internal locus of control, in the chat, tell me what you think you might see in Morgan. What will he do to maximise his chances of success? Let's see if you can think about the contrast, the type of student that is more taking responsibility for their actions. Yeah, prepare, organise time. Revision. Absolutely. Ask for support, especially if the revision isn't quite enough, and really spend time studying. Yeah, you get the idea, don't you? So it's a really easy comparison, and and all of us, including our students, are on a real continuum, moving from internal across to external at times. Okay. Make a list of questions to ask the teacher. Absolutely. How very mature, very proactive. Yes, blocking out time in their calendar and seeking out that support. Fantastic. I think you're really getting the idea. Thank you so much for your interaction there. Okay, I'm going to hand over now to Emma.
Thanks, Mel. So we'll briefly pause to see where we are at. So we understand the difference between internal and external locus of control, and we see how blame is the most common manifestation of an external locus of control. Let's now consider global trends. Over the past few decades, research has shown that more people are starting to believe life happens to them rather than feeling in control of their own outcomes. Studies by researchers such as prominent Stephen Nowicki show that especially since the 1980s, people, and particularly younger generations, are more likely to attribute success or failure to outside factors. Large studies covering data from the 1960s through to the 2000s have also confirmed this trend. People are shifting more towards external thinking. So I guess the question is, why is this trend happening? We've identified some possible causes, and perhaps you can think of a few yourself. Each of these factors share that they reduce the sense of agency of an individual and increase their focus on factors outside their control. They are the barriers to an internal locus of control. So let's have a look at two of the possible causes that are particularly relevant to teenagers. Firstly, technology. The influence of technology on our daily lives is undeniable and only becoming greater. Social media exposes us to events beyond our control, potentially increasing feelings of helplessness. Online, people may compare themselves to others and feel that success is determined by external factors like algorithms, appearance, or popularity, rather than personal effort. We all know this is not just impacting our teenagers. We all suffer the impact to some degree. Secondly, parenting styles. This one may be of particular interest in your roles working with teenagers or as a parent yourself. We have seen a cultural shift towards not allowing risk-taking in children and adolescents. At the extreme end, this can look like helicopter parenting, the overdoing it style of parenting, while no doubt coming from good intentions, involves things like speaking for a younger person instead of allowing them the agency to use their own voice, problem solving for them, for example, jumping in to help without a chance for productive struggle with homework or a situation with a teacher, an extreme focus on success, reducing a young person's sense of permission to fail. This type of parenting provides limited opportunities to take risks in any type of learning, whether it be riding a bike down a hill or getting something wrong in an assignment. Without safe opportunities to take risks, young people are not given the chance to directly see the consequences of their actions. This leads to a belief that they are not influencing their own outcomes, and anxiety is often the result. In direct contrast, if we consider children from trauma backgrounds, they are often living in chaotic and unpredictable environments, whereby their actions do not determine their outcomes. So the two extremes of parenting increasingly lead to an external locus of control. There could be many other barriers to an internal locus of control, such as increased rates of chronic stress and mental ill health, difficult socioeconomic environments, and the lack of trust in institutions, with a lot of interrelating factors amongst all of these things. Whatever is happening, there does seem to be a trend towards this external locus of control. So with all this in mind, we've found it's more important now than ever to work towards an internal locus of control. Let's have a look at the benefits. Take a look at the internal locus of control statements on the slide on your screen. In addition to all of these practical benefits we gain from developing more internal beliefs, there are also many outcomes that are supported by a large evidence base in the psychological literature. So with this in mind, let's turn to what the evidence base suggests we will gain from developing an internal locus of control. Some of the many benefits that you can expect to experience which have been correlated with an internal locus of control are displayed here. Evidence indicates that an internal locus of control positively influences a range of life outcomes. Individuals tend to experience better health. Locus of control is also a strong predictor of grades, and students with more external locus of control are more at risk of dropping out of further education, while an internal locus of control leads to higher academic achievement as well as job performance. An internal locus of control in a person means they are generally more proactive, adaptable, and effective in managing life's challenges, which contributes to their overall success and satisfaction. They have greater psychological well-being and more positive social relationships. In contrast, an externally orientated locus of control has been associated with a range of issues, including well-known correlation with offending, behavioural problems, including conduct disorder, and lower levels of motivation. Research also shows that an internal locus of control enhances job performance and satisfaction, career success, and helps to reduce work-related stress.
Okay, so lots of food for thought there. We're now going to share a range of strategies to support you in your work with young people with all of this in mind. It's likely you're already using some of these or some that are similar. Alternatively, some of them may be new to add to your toolkit. Or you may view familiar strategies with a new lens, with this goal of helping young people take responsibility of their actions by helping that development of an internal locus of control. So let's start with this first one, circles of control. Now, it might seem familiar to a strategy you've heard of before. Circles of control are a way to identify things that are outside of your control and the things that are inside your control. It can help you identify things you can do to positively influence a situation, and it helps you to focus on what you can control. Often when we're faced with difficult or stressful situations, our mind compiles a list of all the obstacles and things we have against us. And they may even go as far as to blame others for the situation. Of course, we talked about that earlier. But this is unfortunately not helpful. Things outside of our control, they're outside of our control. We can't change them. So they aren't worth expending energy on. In the overlapping space you see on this picture here, you can identify things you can do to positively influence your situation. So some strategies. Focusing and acting on what you can control to influence your world is the most consistent way to develop an internal locus of control. One of the trainers from our personal leadership program used this tool when working with a group of students who were mainly presenting with a strong external locus of control as a group. They were from a large high school in a regional area. And because of this strong external locus of control, it was necessary to gradually guide their understanding of an internal locus of control, so including the benefits. I'm going to come back to this story later, but I just want to unpack how the strategy works. So here is a process you could use. First, draw these two large circles on butcher's paper and ask students to identify things that they believe are inside their control and outside their control, and obviously put this up in the classroom very visibly. Then ask clarifying questions of the students as they contribute their thoughts, but really avoid directly challenging any of the decisions they're making in where they're putting their ideas, unless a really obvious one presents itself and there are students who would support that conversation. So, for example, I'm not sure if weather is something that you would put in can control, so that might be an easy conversation. Chances are there will be many more things in the can't control circle from our teenagers' perspective. So here's a example of what it could look like. So let's imagine that these are the types of responses we could expect from a group of teenagers. I'm sure you're imagining what other teenagers may put into the can't control category as well. The third step in the process is, once, of course, the students have put their ideas up there and you've been really clarifying, what they're meaning by their ideas, keep that butcher's paper up in the classroom. Remembering this is a really gradual strategy. So making it really visual, so that they're sort of just digesting what it is that they've put on there as a group. Each week, choose one or two items in the can't control circle to have a robust discussion about with the group, with a view to gradually move items into the can control circle, remembering that it may be more about managing their response to the particular scenario. So let's look at an example. You can see getting angry is in the can't control circle there. So often students might lay the blame on someone else for winding them up, and they just lose it as a response to this. You can ask other students or use your own example of how you can take more control in this situation. So, for example, recognizing that you're letting others win if they're deliberately pushing your buttons, shifting into an in-control mindset. Using techniques like counting and breathing might work for some people. Removing yourself from the space, discovering your triggers before it escalates out of control. So really creating that chance for that discussion that has come from their original ideas. So it's the response they can be in control of with strategies that work for them, or ones that they would like to try if this problem comes up for them regularly. When we're talking about emotions, of course, we would validate an emotion like anger. And if the group is open to it, your discussion could include the why behind the anger. Helping them to understand, describe, and name other emotions may help in managing their response. Another example, people's moods and reactions, like a parent or teacher or a peer, the people in their life. So a robust discussion may include the ideas that we can't control a person's reaction to something, but we can choose to walk away if it's a negative interaction, and acknowledge that it isn't about you, practicing some self-care. We can influence an interaction by being empathetic or doing something kind. Plus, a more advanced strategy is to wisely choose your time, not in the heat of the moment, to express how their behaviour is impacting you and how you can work together to make it better. So the trainer who did use this strategy with a group of young people with an obvious external locus of control had really great success, especially because of the gradual nature of it. The circles of control and their contributions were most relevant to them, and they served as provocations for their discussions, which eventually the young people were leading with their own examples. They were leading debates about the themes and where the themes could sit in the circles and the reasons behind. In short, it had an incredible effect on this particular group. So it's something that you might like to consider trying. All right, another strategy here. Focusing on positive actions and outcomes. So look for and provide opportunities with individual students to see the connection between the positive things they did and the outcome they achieved. When a young person is presenting with an external locus of control, we can often lead with a focus on the negative to help them see the consequences of their negative behaviour. And there's some excellent restorative practice strategies out there, but it can be a lot easier to start with the positives. So first, look for positives regularly and challenge your own negativity bias that we all have. And take the time to share your observations of positive behaviour. Here's some examples. I saw how you were really kind to James today. Did you notice how that made him so much happier and more confident? You really tried hard with your maths lately and it's paying off. You've improved heaps and it's really showing. I'm sure it's going to show in your next assignment. You made the classroom so much calmer today by being more chilled. Thank you so much. You made my job easier. So the focus on positive can be very motivating and lead to more positive actions in the future. I'm sure this is a strategy that you've used in some way, shape or form.
So strategy number 3 is called change loop. And this is a specific tool that you can use to develop a stronger internal locus of control. Of course, this will also impact how you guide the teenagers you are supporting. This is a cognitive behaviour tool called change loop. It considers our inner beliefs, thoughts and feelings along with our actions. It also looks at how others respond, either reinforcing our current beliefs or rewarding changes to help build more positive beliefs. The change loop is a simple yet very powerful way to explain how you can make positive changes in your life. There are 6 factors that influence each other and create a chain reaction. You can experience a positive or negative chain reaction depending on what input you and others give you. However, you do have some choice over some of the factors and you can influence the chain reaction. So let's have a look at our first example. So a teenager named Grace with an external locus of control. This might be a familiar scenario to you in regards to the teenagers that you are working with. Grace in this situation believes that she is not good at science. She therefore thinks that no matter what she does, she can't change it, so she has her external locus of control. And in regards to science and her success in the subject, she feels powerless and has a low self-esteem. With these beliefs, thoughts and feelings, when it comes to science, she acts like she doesn't care and doesn't see the point in trying. Then we consider that if she is acting this way, when anyone speaks to her about science, she is seen by others as a person who is unmotivated and who is not willing to try. And you can see here how this external belief can get stuck in a negative spiral. Perhaps we have met Grace before, or we ourselves have experienced something similar. And Grace is now stuck in this negative loop. And in order to change things, she needs to start with her thinking. She needs to become aware and realise that these negative thoughts are perpetuating this cycle. So now she's going to challenge her way of thinking. And she challenges and replaces the negative self-talk statement with something like, I am in control and I can find ways to be more confident in science. So let's see how that's going to change her world. So if she is thinking that, she's going to feel much more determined and empowered and hopeful. And she may be acting more confident to try and see mistakes as an opportunity for growth. The world is going to see a much more motivated person, willing to take responsibility and to try their best. And the world would be saying, Grace works hard and would like to succeed. And Grace then will start believing that they can build confidence in science and the cycle of more positive thinking can continue. So can you see here how this has changed her world and her locus of control to become internal? There is one area in the change loop where we can start to make change. Can anyone guess where that is? Pop it in the chat if you can see from those 6 options there. Give everyone a little minute. Yes, we've got the winner. Absolutely. So have you ever heard of fake it till you make it? So you can start by changing the way that you act, which then can sort of help change that positive loop. And the way we want you to use this tool is to challenge your self-talk, and there are 3 steps to do this successfully. The first one is awareness, becoming aware of your self-talk. Then challenging and reframing your negative self-talk into more positive self-talk. And then start creating a habit by practicing replacing that negative self-talk into positive self-talk and make it a habit. I remember the first time I observed a group of teenagers learning about the change loop, and one of the vocal members of the group, one who you sense liked to challenge authority at school, and I'm sure you know a few of those and at home, said, "I love this." I also remember her speaking about it in her graduation speech at the end of the program as a tool she will continue to use. So it can be quite a powerful tool. And here is one final strategy.
And thank you to the people that are sharing in the chat. Someone's just shared that it really helped them when they were younger. They actually really use this as a concept for them to help themselves. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Great. Yeah, it can be really powerful, and we've seen it. We've seen it in our students as well. So one final strategy. So you've been learning about the locus of control. Consider introducing the theory to your students and the benefits of an internal locus of control. This strategy does need some consideration around safety, and you would not necessarily use it with a vulnerable group of students impacted by trauma without the earlier strategies that we've shared. But increasingly, young people are becoming critical consumers of information and want to know the science behind interventions. So consider whether they may be ready for this particular theory to help them be personal leaders of their own success and happiness. So as a recap, here are the strategies that we have discussed tonight. It's likely that you have others to add to the list. We encourage you to use the toolkit you have, the strategies that already work, and add to it. And we'll tell you soon how you can access some of these tools.
Great, thank you, Em. So I want to finish with a glimpse of Youth Opportunity's personal leadership framework. Our program is focused on helping young people to develop habits based on the 4 big decisions that you see here. Making these 4 big decisions is aligned to an internal locus of control, where a person takes responsibility for their actions, our theme for the session tonight. All of the practical tools within the program are mapped to the 4 big decisions, which, if made repeatedly, help students develop skills in wellbeing, resilience, enterprise and leadership. And this is the foundation of our program. So something just to think about, and whether you'd like to know more information, you can absolutely reach out to us. So I would love you to do one more little interaction here and just tell us, in the very short session we've had around locus of control and helping young people take responsibility for their actions, what's your key takeaway? If you could just pop your response in Slido, I think it would be great to capture it as a group. We've got a really great attendance tonight, and a lot of other people that have registered too that'll watch the recording. But we would love to hear, what is your key takeaway from the session? I'll let you do that now. If you do have any questions for us, you can also pop those in the chat while we work towards winding up our session very shortly.
Great, we have a share in the chat that we can take control of certain actions if we want to, and also tools and strategies to assist in managing.
Great. Thank you. Fantastic takeaways there. Yeah, awesome that people are talking about that positivity. We started with positivity. We started with those strengths of our young people. And I think you've really got that headset that leading with positivity can be very powerful with these strategies. Awesome. Yeah, so thinking about intention, explicit. Yeah. Our young people have so much potential to leverage the strengths that you talked about earlier, for them to really build that internal locus of control as they develop into adulthood. Thank you so much, everyone. What a great capture of takeaways there. That's really powerful and really useful to Emma and I as well, to see what you've taken. So feel free to, I think the biggest word is positive there, which is awesome. Feel free to keep adding to that. That poll will stay open as we go towards the final little thank you. Really want to thank you for joining us in this session tonight. We hope you found the webinar useful. If you do have any questions, like I say, please feel free to pop them in the chat now. We're going to be reaching out to you over the next week to send you the webinar recording, and also a chance for you to request a copy of some of our resources that we've shared here in the session. So we've got a little pack that we're putting together for you. So you'll be able to request that once you get an email from us over the next week. If you would like to reach out in the meantime and ask any questions about the work that we do or what we've shared tonight, you can see we've got an email address on the screen, so you can use that as well to reach out. So thank you so much. I can see some people are posting in the chat. So we'll be sending you a recording of the webinar, so you'll receive that via email. Yeah, someone's requesting the resources, so fantastic. Thank you. We'll get you to email us, so we'll have it all in one place. Lovely. Lots of gratitude in the chat. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. It's been great to have you all, and thanks for all your contributions tonight. They've been really valuable. So really appreciate your time and taking your time out to join us this evening.
Absolutely. We hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and take care, everyone. And please know how important your work is working with young people. I'm sure you know this too.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.